Welcome, baseball family. Today we have Cody Bellinger has signed Baseball for Beginners and the Orioles Mount Rushmore right now.
9 Plus Us presents the Baseball Together podcast with your hosts, Blackjack Brad and Kansas City Little Big Briggy Blue Eyes. And now, Baseball Together.
Welcome, baseball family, to this week's episode of the Baseball Together podcast. I am Brad. I am here, and I'm also here with our guy, Brig. How are you this evening, Brig?
I'm awake. How are you, Brad?
Good. I'm glad one of us is. I love your jersey, the Bad News Bears jersey. That's fantastic.
Chico's Bail Bonds, sponsored this deal.
Yeah, that's right. Top tier sponsor.
Yeah.
Okay. So, public service announcement before we get started. I can't believe we're at this point, though, Brig. 30 days to opening day. Spring training is in full swing. No pun intended. Spring training games are going. Have you watched any spring training baseball yet, Brig?
Nope. Just highlights. I haven't sat down to watch a game.
I have watched probably more spring training games already than I got to all of last year.
Wow, that's awesome.
Because I felt like last year they weren't on TV at all, but this year already,
more.
They're going, and I like it. It's good. In fact, my daughter has already been asking to watch baseball. I don't know how she knows that it's on, because there's a lot of things she's not aware of, but for some reason that is one of them, and I'm here for it. So it's cool. It's a lot of fun. Okay, let's get into things. First things, Cody Bellinger has signed with the Cubs. I think as we all expected. Were you expecting him to re-sign with the Cubs, Brig?
No.
You weren't? Where did you think he was going to go? Did you have a place where you thought he was going to go? Or
no, I just thought if they were dragging their feet that long, he'd end up somewhere else.
And see, I figured that because he hadn't gone anywhere else, he's like, I want to go back.
Yeah, I mean, I can see that.
And maybe they hadn't even spoken to any other team. Just like, this is where I want to be. This is the best year I've had in a while. And there's a reason for that.
Well, that's true.
I figured he wanted to stick around.
Makes sense. You make freaking great arguments, Brad. That's what you do.
Well, thank you, Brick. So the details on this here contract between Cody Bellinger and the Cubs: 3 years, $80 million. That's a pretty penny for Bellinger, I feel like, at this point. But it comes with two-player options. He gets an option after the first year and an option after the second year. Mm-hmm. So if he has a killer year, if he's back to MVP form after this year, he's like, I'm going to go get more money. He can opt out. He can go get it. So good for him.
Good for him.
I'm happy for him. I think that is a great place for him. I know some Mariner fans wanted him in Seattle, and I'm kind of like, he's good, but at the same, it's one of those things where it's like, I'd rather spend the money somewhere else. I don't know where else, because I don't want to spend it on Blake Snell, right?
Really?
And
you guys don't need
right. I mean, a top 3 pitching staff in baseball, right? And it's like, you need that, but I don't know that I want to overpay for Bellinger, because there's always the chance that you get bad Bellinger. You don't want to overpay for that.
That's a fact.
Right? So, I don't know. To me, it was like high risk, high reward, high money. Didn't necessarily want to go there. I'm glad that he's in Chicago. But so after this happened, after the signing, Scott Boras, Scotty B, as we call him around here, had some stuff to say about why it took so long for Bellinger to get signed and why his other guys are still on the market. Imagine that, Brig. He had thoughts to share.
Oh, no, you don't say.
This is per USA Today's Bob Nightingale, who is a habitual tweeting typoist, but has good information.
True.
So this is what Scotty B said. He said, clubs have plenty of money to spend, but they're not spending it in a manner that is customary to competitiveness. It's not that they don't have the ability to pay, but their choice is to regress on their payrolls. Do you think he's onto something here, Brig, or do you think he's just saying, pay my guys?
I think he's just saying, pay my guys. But I also think that owners can be tight-fisted, at different points and at different times. And it's probably a little bit of both. There's probably a thread of truth to what he's saying. And you might have to reach back or point a finger at one team or another at different points in their progression. But I think ultimately what he's trying to say is get off your haunches and pull out your pocketbook.
I think you're right, too. And this is the thing that I don't feel like that's necessarily the thing that needs to be done anymore, because he's talking about you have to pay to be competitive, which is not always the case.
It's not always the case,
right? Like, granted, yes, the Rangers pretty much bought a title last year, right?
It sure worked, if that's what they did. If we're going to call it,
it sure worked,
and it worked.
But what we've seen in the past several years, like, the Astros have been the cream of the American League for how many years, Brig? With homegrown talent.
Yeah.
Right? They went and got Justin Verlander. They went and got Garrett Cole. The Garrett Cole thing worked out to a degree. The Justin Verlander thing has certainly worked out really well for them.
Totally.
Right? But their top contributors over the years have been homegrown guys with high-priced supplements.
Yeah.
I feel like what Scott Boras wants to do is he wants, hey, build yourself a super team and pay all my guys to be on it. I know he's not saying that, but that's what it feels like, is that he wants somebody to just open up the pocketbook and bring all these guys in and be like, see, this is how you win. But last year was an anomaly compared to what we've seen the last 10 years of baseball.
Well, just look at the Dodgers the last 10 years, right? Like, they've been spending all kinds of money and it hasn't been working out. So,
right. Yeah. And even when they signed Ohtani, people were like, man, that's a whole lot of money for a first round exit. Right?
Yeah. Yeah, that's a lot. I heard that a lot.
Yeah, because it's been the case. And so he had more to say on this about his guys, because we're used to him wanting like max upon max money for his guys, right? Like record setting. So he says, we're open to all sorts of ideas, short-term, long-term flex. I can tell you these players are not seeking anything beyond what the existing industry standards are. But my thing with that is that if they weren't asking for anything above industry standards, they would be on a team. What they're asking for is above the current market value.
Right.
Obviously.
I agree.
Like, that's
to add.
That's the issue that I have with all this.
The market is fluctuating down.
Yes.
These big money deals are leaving. And we talked about this a couple of years ago. I think it was during the Bryce Harper deal, when I was begging for them to go out and pull Mike Trout over to Philadelphia as well. I was like, look, these massive, 12 and 13-year deals for $300+ million, they're going to go away. You got to get them in while you can. I thought the CBA would have more to do with it, like, directly. I still think it has a lot to do with it, but it's been indirect. And now we're seeing what the regional sports networks and all the
that's the big thing.
Broadcasting. Yeah. That's what's going on. It's been a mess. But those days are coming to an end if they're not already over.
Yeah, which is really interesting. And I have some more thoughts on that later. We'll get into it.
Okay.
But Boras has several guys on the market still. Blake Snell, Matt Chapman, and JD Martinez. And actually came out this week that JD Martinez turned down a 1-year, $14 million offer from the Giants. So this is the thing, is like, and Blake Snell turned down what was said was his only offer with the Yankees. Yeah. That it's not that these guys aren't getting offers, it's just that they're not up to their liking. And sometimes you might not like the market, but it is what it is, and you got to take what you can get.
Well, even one Jordan Montgomery hasn't signed.
Yes, right. Yeah, I knew there was one more guy I left off the list. Yeah, exactly.
He's now in discussion with the Red Sox. I don't know. It's fascinating, but
that is fascinating.
The Red Sox are desperate, right? Like,
they are desperate, but they're also desperate to be cheap. They don't want to spend money, so I think it's interesting they're talking to him.
Yeah.
Hey, look, you don't have any other offers. Just come on in.
I feel like we're going to talk meaningless predictions in a couple of weeks, but I have some thoughts on this year's Boston club. It's not good. It's not good at all.
I believe you.
A pretty happy place for me to be.
It is a happy place for Brig to be. All right. There were other signings aside from Cody Bellinger. He was just the big fish that got caught off the market this last week. Kike Hernandez has returned to the Dodgers on a 1-year deal. I think it's kind of funny that they brought in Hernandez and then they traded Manuel Margot.
Yeah.
As like a corresponding move. I don't understand it. They traded him to the Twins. He'll be a free agent after the 2024 season. And maybe he was just like a throw-in with the Glasnow deal, right? Because he came over with Glasnow.
Yeah.
And the Dodgers kind of like, we don't necessarily want him, but I guess we'll take him if you're going to send
Flip
Glasnow.
him. Yeah.
Yeah, and I don't know. And I feel bad for him. And I shouldn't. I don't know that I should because he's playing baseball regardless, right? But he looked awfully happy in Dodger blue the other day when I saw him.
Yeah.
Walking like the dude just had the biggest grin walking around the spring training facility. I was like, man, that guy is happy to be here, and I love it. And now he's got to go out to Florida and go play for the Twins, which I hope he has a great year. I like Margot.
Yeah, I do too. I agree with that.
Brandon Crawford is another guy who signed. He signed with the Cardinals. The details of the contract at this point of recording are not known. He still has to do the physical, but the dude's 37 years old. And he's expected to back up Mason Wynn at shortstop until Tommy Edman recovers from surgery. Like, why is Brandon Crawford at 37 years old? Yes, he had a bad year last year.
Yeah.
But why is he signing a deal with a team to be a backup at 37 years old? I mean, I guess it's a big league deal, right? So it's not a minor league deal, so it's a big league deal. But like, I don't understand at his age why he wants to go in and be a backup somewhere.
Listen, you're asking the wrong question.
Okay, what is the question I should be asking?
The question is, why didn't San Francisco re-sign him? I know he had a bad deal. I know he had a bad year, but what were the terms of his last year? He's been with them his entire career, right?
Yeah.
So like,
yeah, I'm pretty sure. I'm gonna double check it right now.
Yeah, I was trying to double check too, but I'll filibuster for a minute. The dude's 37. He's a mainstay in San Francisco. He's beloved by the fans, right? He's been there the whole time.
Yeah.
And they can't bring him back for 1 year. If he's going to go out and get 1 year somewhere else to potentially end up being the third string shortstop, because that's what it's looking like. As soon as Tommy Edman
think about this, though. I mean, I know he can play some first base, right? Especially at his age. Yeah. But at third string shortstop, how many teams carry a third string shortstop?
That's what I'm saying.
Right? Like, Edman comes back, he's probably going to get cut.
Exactly.
He's going to get DFA'd. Like, why would you go put yourself in that situation? I can go back up Goldie at first. Maybe
don't need it. We don't need it.
You might be able to platoon on his day off, platoon at DH.
DH, yeah.
But really, though, like, he's not a utility guy. He doesn't have the range to play second base. Maybe he could play. I bet he could play third base. Maybe that's what he's going to do. Maybe after Edman comes back, he is going to be a utility infielder, and they're just going to have to shift guys over to second base if they need. I don't know. But if you can't play second base, you can't play shortstop.
So I know it's a business, right?
Yeah.
And I got it, but it just seems like from the fans' perspective, it just feels like a betrayal from the Giants to not keep Crawford in. If you're going to send him to St. Louis to be a backup guy, you tell me you can't keep him in San Francisco and be a backup guy for 1 year and platoon him at DH here and there? What is going on? If I'm a fan, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, you're right. Like, if he's going to play this role in St. Louis, why couldn't he have done it in San Francisco?
And why can't he then retire and ride off into the sunset? We don't need to retire his number or anything, but he could have been a San Francisco Giant forever.
Maybe they didn't want to have to DFA him. They'd rather let him walk in free agency.
Well, okay, I can see that argument. Okay, because
they might not have wanted to have to make the tough decision with him. Maybe that's what it was.
Yeah,
they'd rather tear off the Band-Aid now. But I don't know. It's an interesting situation.
That's nice. I like that.
I will be following this much closer than I anticipated that I would have been originally.
Yeah.
To see what happens end of March, beginning of April. Last one we have here. Tim Anderson signed with the Marlins, 1 year, $5 million. First off, Brig, I'm furious about this. Absolutely furious. The Mariners needed a second baseman.
Yeah.
And yes, traded for Jorge Polanco. Right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
But like, could have gotten Tim Anderson for $5 million 1 year. There's like no risk in this contract.
Yep.
Zero.
None.
That is, relatively speaking, I know $5 million for me is so expensive, but for these teams, $5 million is not a big deal. Like this year and next, so we've got Polanco on the hook for $10.5 million this year, and then a team option for 2025 at $12 million.
Right.
And he's been regressing year over year. And I know Tim Anderson had
Right.
a terrible year last year. Right. I understand that.
But
Was not
so
good.
did
Got
every
worse
White
after.
Sox.
Yes.
Everybody in the
White
clubhouse
Sox had a
had a
career worst
meltdown.
year last year.
Yeah, I don't want. That's an anomaly right now.
Yeah. So this is what I think is going to happen with Tim Anderson, though, Brig. At $5 million, a 1-year deal, he is not going to finish the season with the Marlins. He's going to get traded and absolutely flipped for a haul at the deadline. He's going to be playing for a contender.
Oh yeah. 100%. And he's going to walk into the season in Miami with a chip on his shoulder, and he's going to earn himself that spot. You just watch.
Yeah.
You're
he's
exactly
going to have
right.
a killer spring.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's bonkers, though. Like, I was just furious when I saw how cheap the Marlins got him for, because the Mariners should have. All right, moving on.
A lot of people should have.
A lot of people should have. Yeah. The fact that they were the only team that offered him was unreal. Okay, moving on.
Okay.
The MLB uniform fiasco continues. This is getting worse by the day, it feels like. So we talked last week about how the uniforms looked cheap, the screen print. I stand by it, though, Brig. Like what I said about like the screen printing being flexible, moving with you, and not being as hot. Like I stand by that part of it, because pretty much every shirt I own is like this one that I'm wearing right now.
Right.
Because they're comfortable, because it moves with me and it's flexible and it's light, breathes. Anyway, but the problem that they're having now is the pants. The pants are like see-through.
They're see-through.
If you haven't seen it, that's insane.
Now look,
you shouldn't be able to see the guy's jersey through his pants.
I've heard that the apologetics are coming out and saying, no, that's under hot studio lighting, right? That's under intense photography, game day, or like media day lighting. And I'm like, okay, fine. Well, then explain the ones on the field.
Well, even then though, Brig, like when you're testing this stuff out, test it in this situation.
Yeah.
Like you should know every situation these pants are going to be worn, and be like, hey, they're going to be taking pictures in these. What does it look like under studio lighting?
Yeah.
Because they're going to be running promos, and they're going to do all this kind of stuff. They shouldn't have to shoot from the belt up.
Yeah.
Every single time. And it's unreal. It's so weird.
It's so weird.
And so there's some other things that have come out about this. Aside from the fact that they're see-through and not leaving much to the imagination. Everybody's coming to the plate with a 2-0 count. Players don't have the option to have them tailored to their preferences. Teams don't have enough pants. How do you not have enough pants? Like they're reusing pants from last year. This is a problem that a failing league has.
Yeah.
That you don't have enough pants for guys.
Not the premier league in the world.
No, not the premier baseball league in the world. A failing league has uniform problems where they don't have enough. Their pants are see-through. The material is shoddy. And players are complaining about things 4 weeks before the season starts.
Right.
And the league's going, well, look at the supplier, or look at the designer. And the designer's going, well, look at the supplier. And the supplier's going, well, look at the designer, because we're going off the specs they gave us.
Yep.
Everybody's pointing fingers at one another. Nobody wants to own it. But the one thing that Major League Baseball did own was they said, well, we decided to move the logo down on the back. And unfortunately, that has made the lettering and the numbers smaller.
No, it made the numbers and the lettering lower, not smaller.
Well, it did make it smaller. Have you
No, I've seen them.
This is one thing I've noticed watching games is the font is itty bitty on those names.
I know, but listen, think about it though. Okay.
We talked about how everything's lower, how it looks bootleg.
It's bootleg because it's lower, but if you have an image here and you have an image here and you move it down, this image doesn't need to change size. So I understand that the that the Batterman logo was moved down under the collar stitch, right? I got it. But that does not change the necessity of the box you're able to fit everything else in. You could still have the words big and broad across the shoulders, man. So don't give me that. That's a line of bull, Brad.
You can't, though, Brig. You can't, because you only have so much space to work with on the back. Because you know what I saw today while I was watching a game? Somebody's number was just about tucked into the back of their pants.
Oh, I'm not surprised.
Low.
Yeah.
You got to make it smaller. Okay. So they've made the name smaller to account for that. The numbers are still big, but the name is smaller because they're like, I got to fix something. So that's why the name is tiny. The number's still the same size.
Right. The name, it's all bad, dude. It looks so stupid, and it's so cheap looking. Ugh.
Yeah, and it looks worse on TV than I thought it was going to.
Oh my god!
Like, just awful.
It's
like
so bad.
I don't know what they're gonna do about it. And like, you have a thing here that says, why is Nike so silent in all this? Aside from the fact that they're like pointing a finger at fanatics, like, own your mistake. This is your doing. This is you, Nike. And I know everybody's like, oh, bring back Majestic. Well, Majestic, it was good. I don't
think that's the answer.
Right? I don't think that's the answer either. Because if you just go back to Majestic, what you're going to get is those old, heavy jerseys, and nobody wants that.
Right.
They're wanting future, like, I don't want to say material of the future, but progressive materials, because it is lighter, it does breathe, and it's more flexible.
Yeah.
Right? That's what they're going to want. So I don't think Majestic is the answer, but Nike needs to own up and be like, you know what?
This was a bad idea. Yeah.
Let's go back to everything that we did last year. Exactly. We will be producing around the clock to make sure everybody has what they need for opening day and then some. And we're going to spend another year or two working on this to get it right, to get it exactly right how we want it.
Here's the thing, though. These have been in the works since 2018. You're telling me in the last handful of years they haven't put this in front of studio lighting? They didn't have a model walk around in them or slide on infield dirt and see if they're not going to tear? Like, what? If they're testing it that way, they would be able to test it these other ways, right?
So I think maybe what they had done, because this is probably the way I would have thought about this, okay? In testing is, okay, what do baseball players wear when they're playing baseball? Most guys are going to have some kind of sliding short underneath their pants. What color are those? Typically white, right? White or black.
Okay.
Under their pants, right?
Yeah, not white.
The ones I always had white growing up.
Oh, no.
White sliding
Mine
pants.
have always been dark. Okay.
Really? I didn't know they came. Anyway, I guess I did know, but I didn't know. I always bought white. But anyway, so you walk around, have somebody walk around wearing white sliding pants, thinking maybe that's what they're going to wear. But there are guys who wear dark. Put those on underneath. See what that looks like.
Yeah.
We're going to have to do photo shoots. Okay, they're probably not wearing the sliding pants. Just put some boxers on underneath that. Put some boxer briefs on under that. Chuck a shirt down. Let's see what it looks like.
Yep. It's so stupid.
Did you see what Under Armour said during this whole thing?
Yes.
Give that intern a job, because
it was
they crushed it. Yeah, for those of you who didn't see, they just tweeted out a picture, or they posted a picture of, like, from Dick's Sporting Goods, of just like Under Armour baseball pants. Said, we got you covered. They're not see-through.
Yeah. Literally, we got you covered is what it said. Not just like, hey, we got it taken care of. Like, we got you covered. It was a perfect double entendre. I loved it.
It was.
Here's the thing that so MLB. Okay, never mind. I gotta stop. I'm gonna stop now. I just think. No, I'm not gonna stop, Brad. I'm gonna.
Yeah, don't stop. Go.
I'm just gonna get on this because I'm so mad. I gotta go back to the Batterman logo on the back of the uniform. Okay, the logo. Somewhere somebody has come out and said MLB took responsibility for moving the Batterman logo.
Yeah.
Okay? And then the speculation around that has become, well, MLB wants more front-facing, more forward-facing, their brand, right? The MLB brand. And my problem is if that's prime real estate on the uniform, then shouldn't it go to the uniform or of the team into the player's name? Because the team plus the player is the brand. That's how I see it. The team plus the player, that's the brand. Major League Baseball is an umbrella. To me, they're a governing body. Yes, they're interested in marketing the game. They're interested in bringing the younger generation into the fandom. That's what we want to do, right? They're interested in the longevity and the health and the heartbeat of the game, but they're not the brand. The brand is the talent on the field and the name of the uniform on the front of the jersey. And that's it. So why are we putting the Batterman logo lower so they can have more FaceTime with the fans?
You know what this goes into, Brig? You know what this comes back to? Is the thing that we've been talking about for years is that Major League Baseball has a marketing problem.
Yeah.
A tremendous marketing problem, that their priorities are all out of whack. They're like, we need to get our logo more prominent on the jersey. No, you know what? That spot on the top, that is a perfect place for the league logo. You know what was another perfect spot? It was right on the sleeve.
Right here.
That was another great spot for it. You know what's not a perfect spot? Disrupting the player's name. Everybody knows this guy is a big leaguer. Plays in Major League Baseball. Everybody knows. You need to market your players and the teams they play for. That in turn will market your league.
Yes.
And those players, when they're on the field, need to look like they are playing in the top tier premier baseball league in the world, and not like a Saturday beer league softball league.
Correct.
That's overall, this is a Major League Baseball marketing problem.
The entire thing is embarrassing.
Out of control.
It's embarrassing.
It is, truly.
Okay.
So you know what's better than some baseball, though, Brig?
More baseball.
Expansion.
Yes.
Let's bring 2 more teams into this mess.
Welcome. We've got
wings. You want to know this? Yeah, exactly. So there's been speculation that there are 2 frontrunners. The 2 frontrunners have emerged in the expansion race. One of them is Nashville. We called this 5 years ago when we first started talking about this.
100 years ago. Yeah, for sure.
Absolutely makes sense. But the one that we didn't call, that we thought didn't make a lot of sense, but is starting to actually make more sense as things progress, because there's a legitimate plan in place and they're pushing really, really, really hard for it, is Salt Lake City.
Yeah, they are.
Pretty cool.
I am a little bit I didn't see that coming.
No, not even a little bit. But so my thing with Salt Lake was I kept saying there's not the corporate money. There's not the corporate money there. But this is the thing, is that I keep forgetting about Silicon Slopes.
Yeah.
There's a lot of money down there. One dude who grew up playing junior jazz, rec league basketball, is now a billionaire and had enough money to buy the team outright. If there's that kind of money down there, there is more money like that. And the Millers, who previously owned the Jazz, have put together a massive $3.5 billion proposal to turn what they're calling the Power District. It's an area. Actually, my dad used to work in this area.
Oh, yeah.
When I was a wee lad. They're going to turn this whole area into a entertainment and shopping complex and have the baseball stadium be the focal point of all of it. And they want to put a team right there. It is not far from downtown, easy to get to, and I'm pretty sure that there's a light rail stop that's going to be right there.
Train,
if it's not there already.
Doesn't the train already go through there? And
that's what I'm saying, the light rail, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like right there. So it's easy, super easy to get to.
For sure.
So it could really work out.
I think it's awesome.
Yeah, I think it'll be really cool. There are other teams in the mix. Brig, you want to talk about some of these teams?
Yeah, so the other teams in the mix are Charlotte, Vegas, Montreal, Portland, Sacramento, and San Antonio. And I got a couple of details here that I think are interesting that have come up to support these other team names or locations. So Charlotte, Vegas both have AAA facilities already. So does Sacramento. Portland has a high A club. San Antonio has a double A club. And obviously Montreal hasn't had any baseball there since the Expos left, which is just terrible. Montreal has the highest metro population of the teams in this group, to include Nashville and Salt Lake City. The Salt Lake City has the smallest metro area by population size. It's the least populated metro area on this list.
Despite their best efforts. Dude, they're gonna like blow into that mountain trying to create more real estate in that valley.
Yeah.
Or they're gonna drain the lake. I don't know what they're
I was gonna say they're gonna have to drain one of the lakes.
They want to put so many more people in that valley, but there just is not the real estate space for it.
There's not. That's why places like Mount Pleasant are expanding dramatically. Mm-hmm. And when I was coming up, Mount Pleasant was like the boonies, man.
Right.
Like nothing happened out there.
Where my sister lives down there was like cow pastures, and now it's so densely populated. It's bananas out there.
So Nashville and Salt Lake, obviously, they have AAA facilities there. And just to give you a context of the metro population, Nashville has 1.27 million people populating their metro area, and Milwaukee has the lowest metro area by population in Major League Baseball at 1.56 million. So they're already holding a major league club in Milwaukee at 1.56. Nashville only has 1.27. So just to give you an idea, maybe it's Salt Lake. I think it's Salt Lake actually has 1.27. I maybe put that in the wrong spot. But now let's go down and see what these cities. Wow, I can talk.
Well, hold on. Let's look at these real quick, because I think we could honestly cross some of these off the list.
Yeah,
right.
Let's do that.
Like, I think we can take Vegas off the list because they're likely going to get the A's.
And if they don't, I don't think they'll get a major league club. Let's be honest.
Right. And I think that if they don't, it's because baseball is going to want to punish them for making that super easy deal with the A's. Right. That sweetheart deal with the A's, making that fall through. Yeah. And they're just like, no, we're not going to come, not this time around, because you couldn't make that happen. You can't make this happen.
Right.
So I think that's a problem. Montreal, I think there's a reason baseball got out of Montreal. And I think some of it has to do with language, because I've heard Samson talk about this. David Samson talk about this. Is there's a language issue. I think there was a currency issue in Montreal that they don't have in Toronto. I don't know for sure, but I think that was part of it. That there were some logistical problems with having a team in Montreal, and they were just kind of like, we got to get this team out of here. So I think you can take Montreal off the list for that reason. Portland, I think. So originally they were going to have a stadium down on the river, like a really small stadium down on the river on the Willamette. And I was like, okay, that's fine, but that's going to be terrible. Absolutely awful to get to. But then when they're pitching around the idea of like going out to Hillsborough, Tigard, Beaverton, that area, I'm like, okay, that makes a whole lot more sense.
Yeah. That's what you said last week too.
Yeah, because they've got the Hillsborough Hops out there. If they're out there by that team, that could work out really, really well.
Yeah.
But again, I worry about the corporate money in Portland unless Phil Knight buys the team. Then they're fine.
Yeah.
Then the team will be in Beaverton and they'll be amazing. Sacramento, if the A's leave, I see this. That's the only reason I see that happening. If the A's were to leave, that's the only time I could see a team in Sacramento.
That's exactly how I feel.
And then I think
it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, I think it would be cool to have a baseball team in San Antonio, so we can have the Texas Triangle in baseball as well.
That'd be cool. Yeah, I think that would be really cool.
I like the Texas Triangle in basketball, but I don't think it would happen.
I don't think they're certainly not in the front runners discussion here. Now, if Salt Lake City is the farthest from any other Major League Baseball team, they've got Denver. It's like 500 something miles away. It's the farthest. The Sacramento's the nearest to another MLB city.
Well, they're right there with San Francisco and Oakland.
It's like 80 miles or something. Like
yeah, it's close. And that's why I don't. That's why if the A's were to end up staying, I wouldn't see Sacramento. If they go, possibly, but I think the Giants would just be like, now the market is ours.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
So that's
I think if Nashville or Salt Lake were to fall through, I think that the next best option, the one that makes the most sense, is Charlotte.
Oh yeah, we've been saying that time immemorial.
We said that with Nashville way back when. But I don't think that they want to expand 2 teams right there.
Before we move past this, just because there's a little aside going on, in 2004, the Montreal Expos ended their 35-year time.
Right?
Tenure. Thank you, Brad. You're good at this tonight. The tenure. And we are now going to get a documentary. Netflix is putting together a documentary about Montreal's baseball team and why they left, specifically addressing the downfall of the franchise before they moved to Washington. So that got announced like 4 or 5 days ago or 6 days ago, something like that.
Yeah, that'll be cool. That'll be really interesting to watch and to see how much language and currency played into that.
Mm-hmm. It'll be interesting to see if Sampson's involved.
I think he's got to be. He's the one who sold the team.
Exactly. So it'll be like if he's not on camera, I'm going to be a little bit worried.
Yeah. And I'll be questioning everything as well.
Yeah, suddenly I'll be like, All
right, last thing before we take a break. This is just a quick one. We all know Stephen A. Smith with ESPN.
Yeah.
Some of us get very angry at him because he has really strong takes, with strong ideas about things. But my world, I don't know, I don't want to say it was flipped, but it was changed a little bit. My perspective was changed a little bit because he's a soap opera actor, apparently. My mom told me about this the other day. She's like, "Did you know?" I was like, "No." She's like, "Yeah, he's been off and on for a few years, and now he's a mobster, plays a role of a mobster on General Hospital. And then lately, I guess they brought in a love interest for him, so I think he's going to have a bigger role." So,
wait. He's still doing this?
Oh, yeah, dude. This is like recent. This video clip right here.
What? I thought it was like, before he made it to ESPN.
No, this was like last week.
When you told me about it, I was like, we all come from somewhere.
No, so my mom has reached the point where she's retired. So what she does is she sits around all day making quilts and watching her stories. And then that's when she told me about this. I was like, well, that's really interesting. And this is recent. She's like, yeah, they recently just brought in a love interest for him. And I was like,
holy crap.
So he's doing ESPN and soap operas right now.
Whoa.
So, but Brig, my big takeaway from this is, first off, the man's got range because he's super laid back and kind of a little bit scary in this. I watched a couple clips. I was like, it was fascinating. But the other thing is, the man is an actor. So, baseball family, when he insults your team or your preferences in sports, don't take it too personally because he is playing a role. He's playing a character. He is acting. So just brush it aside. I know it's hard sometimes, but just brush it aside and let it go because he's doing a bit.
That's a good take, Brad.
That's all it is. That's all it is. Just a bit. He's an actor, if you will.
Oh.
And scene. But before we cut the scene, Brig, let's talk about Chinook seeds. One thing we like to ask our guests about when they come on is their favorite sunflower seed flavor. Well, we have some favorites around here. Mine, I actually had some smokehouse barbecue today. Fantastic. Brig, your favorite is still?
Parmesan and pepper, baby.
For the rest of time. But you can get other flavors like original, jalapeno ranch, hatch chili, lemon pepper, cinnamon toast, and, of course, dill pickle. Go to ChinookSeedery.com and use code BTPOD at checkout to save 10% on your order and support the show while you're doing it. Again, that's ChinookSeedery.com with code BTPOD to save 10% off your order. And we'll be right back with some baseball for beginners.
Welcome, baseball family. We are going to get into baseball for beginners. And one of the first things we think you ought to know if you're introducing baseball to a new fan or a person in your life is you ought to know the positions. So we're going to go through and we're going to name them. Then we're going to show you where they are on the field. And then we're going to tell you how the number sequencing works in baseball. It's for scorecard keeping, but it's also good to know when you're watching TV and listening on the radio. So we have the pitcher and the catcher. Okay. First base, second base, third base, shortstop, Then we have left field, center field, and right field. Those are the 9 positions that make up the players on the baseball field at any given time. That is the defense. Offense stands at the plate and tries to hit the ball. Defense puts the ball in play with the pitcher throwing to the catcher. Here's a graphic for those of you watching, just to give you an idea of where these position players typically find themselves arrayed around the field. We've got the pitcher there in the center of the diamond. That's represented by the star. The catcher is the wider star at or behind home plate on this graphic. We've got 4 circles on the infield representing moving counterclockwise. First base, second base, third base, or shortstop, and then third base. And then if we're going to move clockwise through the outfield, we start the left side is left field, center field is in the middle, right field is toward the right in this graphic on the bottom.
Now, something that I know can be difficult for new fans especially, and I see this all the time with kids who are getting introduced to the game, is they get confused between left field and right field, because when you're standing on the field, left field is on your right side, right field is on your left side, right? But it's all based on what the batter sees. If the batter is hitting the ball to left field, they're hitting it to the batter's left. So the batter's standing on home plate, left field goes out to the batter's left, right field goes out to the batter's right. And so everything is based off of that perspective, and that's why you get left field where it is. And I think that the confusion is absolutely understandable as well.
It is understandable for sure.
100%.
But if you orient yourself at the plate, then you get left and right. Third base is down the left field line toward left field. First base is up the right field line toward right field. That's how that works. Okay.
Right. So let's talk about how these positions
are
are numbered, because what you're going to see a lot of times is, like, if you're looking at a scorecard, you look at your team's starting lineup, you're going to see everybody's name and their position where they're batting in the order. And sometimes they'll show RF for right field, CF for center field, 1B for first base, everything like that. But sometimes they'll show numbers. And so this is where this comes into play with the numbers. So the pitcher is 1, the catcher is 2, the first baseman is 3, second baseman is 4, third base is 5, and then shortstop is 6. That's your entire infield. It's odd that it can be tough to keep track of as you go from second base to third base, 4 to 5, and then shortstop 6. But that's just the way it's numbered, is the bases, and then the shortstop is a little bit of a rover there on the left side of the infield. And then you've got left field is 7, center field is 8, right field is 9. And so what you'll hear sometimes on the radio or on TV, sometimes you hear a guy on a ground ball to third base, where the third baseman throws the ball to first base to get the out. You'll hear 5-3 put out. That's because it's position 5 throwing the ball to position 3 to get the out at first base. And so that's where that comes from. That's why you'll hear that sometimes. And that's where the numbering system comes into play a lot of times too.
The other thing that you'll hear, this sequence happens a lot, and it's very exciting. So you hear on the radio or on television a 6-4-3 double play. That means that the batter at the home plate put the ball into play. It went to the shortstop, number 6. That number 6 player threw the ball to the number 4 player at second base, who then threw the ball to the number 3 position player at first base. And by doing so, they get 2 runners out at the same time in the same play. And that's a 6. When you hear 6-4-3, that's what that means. The 6th position player threw it to the 4th position player, who threw it to position number 3.
And sometimes what you'll see too is probably people wearing t-shirts, 6 + 4 + 3 = 2.
Equals 2.
That's where that comes from.
Now
For
you know
those
why.
of you who don't know, and now you do. So, baseball family, if there are any other things you want to learn about with baseball for beginners, if you're having a hard time explaining something to a family member who's just getting into baseball, or a friend who's a new fan, let us know. We want to do a bunch of these. We want to do them a ton, because we have people in our lives who are either A, new to baseball, or B, just don't understand some of the in-depth parts of the game. So we want to teach them. We'll teach you. We'll teach everybody. We'll learn together. It'll be a great time. We'll have tons of fun doing it. So we're going to take a quick break. When we get back, we're going to get into the Baltimore Orioles Mount Rushmore. Welcome back, baseball family. Before we get into the Baltimore Orioles Mount Rushmore, Brig has a public service announcement. Brig, take it away.
Thank you, sir. Just to make it very clear and a quick reminder that based on the research I have conducted, it appears that T-Mobile will be once again giving us free baseball this year. That will no longer, I don't think, be in the T-Mobile Tuesdays app. You're going to have to go to the T-Life. You have to go through T-Life. That is also, I don't know what that is. This is new to me. But it does appear that it's going to happen. It usually comes like a week or two before the season starts. That's March 28th, so we've got some time. But all signs point to free baseball via T-Mobile again. You're welcome. Thanks, T-Mobile.
Can confirm. Can't tell you how I know, but can confirm.
Bingo.
So
I don't want to know.
There's that. Okay. All right. So this week we're doing another of our Mount Rushmores because it's going to be that time of year where we get into these. So this time we are to the Baltimore Orioles. Brig is going to go through and give us a little bit of history about the team. I will share where the team name comes from and a little bit about the colors too. So go ahead, take it away, Brig.
Yes, very excited. Okay, so the Baltimore Orioles have been around for 123 seasons.
Since the dawn of time.
They began in 1901. They continue to this day. Nothing has changed. Well, lots has changed, but they're still a franchise.
Literally so much has changed.
Lots. Okay, so their win-loss record sits at a 474 with 9,029 losses and 10,013 wins. Playoff appearances 15, 7 pennant wins, 3 world championships. That's what I'm going to tell you. I'm going to wait till the end. Tell you more.
So it's crazy. So you say 1901, right?
Yeah.
They were originally the Milwaukee Brewers in 1901.
Yep.
And then that was only for 1 year. And then they became the St. Louis Browns until 1953. And then they were the Baltimore Orioles, which is super crazy because they're the original Baltimore Orioles are now, do you know?
No.
The New York Yankees.
Oh, yeah. I did know that. That was like also 100 years ago.
That's like the weirdest thing to me.
It's so weird.
Because the Yankees have been around forever. You think that they just like started, right? That maybe they are the Yonkers batsmen and then they were evolved into the New York Yankees. But no, they were the Baltimore Orioles and then they were the New York Yankees. And then the Milwaukee Brewers became the St. Louis Browns, who became the Baltimore Orioles. But then the Seattle Pilots, who were in Seattle for 1 year, became the Milwaukee Brewers. It's so weird, Brig.
It's crazy. Don't forget the New York Highlanders, right? That's
right.
Kind of one of the original. Anyway, never mind. So
it's so crazy. Can I talk about where the team name came from real quick?
Please do. Yeah, I was just gonna. Yes.
Okay, so there's a couple things. So, like I said, the team moved from St. Louis in 1954, and after relocating, they decided to adopt the name the Orioles because teams in Baltimore, in Maryland, have been using the Oriole as their team name because it's the state bird since 1882. So I wasn't kidding when I say the dawn of time. It's the beginning of like super organized baseball, pretty much. Teams have been the Baltimore Orioles. And so they took this team this team name because everybody else has been. And in case you're curious, Brig, this is what a Baltimore Oriole sounds like. That is an actual Baltimore Oriole.
No. That is high class entertainment. I did not know you were going to do that. That was absolutely phenomenal.
So that's what a Baltimore Oriole sounds like. I was actually curious because I've never heard it. At least I don't know that I've ever heard it. But anyway, so one thing that's cool is that the colors, the black and the orange, actually a big part of it comes from the color of an Oriole, right? You see it on the logo all the time, the black and the orange. But also some of it comes from the coat of arms of Lord Baltimore, by the by.
What?
This is the coat of arms of Lord Baltimore. Let me read you a little bit about Lord Baltimore. I think I closed it, but I can pull it up real quick.
You better pull it up real quick because you got me totally on the hook, Brad.
Yeah, so Cecil Calvert, 2nd Baron Baltimore, he was the first proprietor of Maryland. He was born in 1605, and so he was in Maryland in the 1600s, and his coat of arms is where actually the Maryland flag comes from.
Whoa.
Yeah, that's what this is. And that's why you see that on the inside of their City Connect and all that stuff and all over the place, which I think is the coolest state flag in the country, by the way.
Oh, yeah, it's fabulous.
I love it.
Probably because it's been around since the 1600s when people cared about stuff like that.
You're right. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, so that's where the Orioles come from. A lot of fun.
That's
and
so
now
cool,
you know what an Oriole sounds like as well.
I mean, I am better for having heard that. I really am. And I will tell you that on top of that, I didn't know I was playing AA ball until now. Like you've raised the bar.
Thought we'd go big leagues on this one, Brig.
I mean, yeah.
A team with 120 plus years of history. You got to pay some respect to it. But anyway.
You do.
Okay.
Yeah.
Why don't you lead us off, Brig, with your first Mount Rushmore nominee for the Orioles?
Okay. All right.
I'm certain we're going to overlap on at least two of these, if not three.
Let's get some of this out of the way. All right. So my first guy, two-time MVP, Rookie of the Year, 19-time All-Star, Home Run Derby champion, 1983 World Series, two-time Gold Glove, 8-time Silver Slugger, two-time All-Star MVP, two-time Major League Player of the Year. He spent all 21 seasons of his career in Baltimore as an Oriole. He broke Lou Gehrig's consecutive game streak. It's Cal Ripken Jr. You can't beat it. It's got to be number one.
He does. He's absolutely the top. And it's funny because I've heard Cal Ripken called a compiler, and sometimes I will make that argument just for fun, just to be a troll. But it does require a certain level of ability to play through injury, durability, all of it, to be able to play that many games in a row. And the fact that he was the MVP, the AL MVP on a team that won the World Series.
Yep.
That's a really big deal. Because that's
and
the Orioles'
that was
only
his
World
third
Series title,
season. That was his third season as a player in the league.
Yeah. Yeah.
He goes 23 games in 81. Then he plays a full 160 in 82, where he wins Rookie of the Year and is number 30 on the MVP voting. So he's still got a little attention there anyway. Then in 83, he leads the league in games, plate appearances, at-bats, runs, hits, doubles, all the way over to an all-star appearance, an MVP, and a Silver Slugger award. His third year in the
shortstop
league.
Award.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, it should be a
shortstop. But it's so weird to think about this version of Cal Ripken, because not only did he lead the league in doubles in 47, but he also hit 27 home runs. He hit 20 home runs at least 20 home runs every year until 1992 when he hit 14, and then he hit 20 again in 93, and then he hit 26 again in 96.
Yeah.
He never hit fewer than 10 in a full season. And it's weird to think about who 80s Cal Ripken was, because I saw 90s Cal Ripken.
Same.
Of like a doubles guy, right?
Yeah.
Hitting for average and just playing every day.
Slap hitter, yeah, for sure.
With the man of many batting stances as well.
Yeah.
I didn't know. I didn't know until we started doing this that he actually won the Home Run Derby in 91.
Yeah.
No idea. No clue.
The dude's the man. I mean, he's just the man. And you can't snub a guy as a compiler when he was an all-star in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, his last 6 seasons. So he's 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, and 40. And
he played 20. He played 21 years, and he made 19 all-star teams. So am I reading that right?
Yeah, it's 19.
Yeah.
So I don't want to hear the compiler crap.
Right. Well, and this is the thing too, is in order for a guy to be able to rack up that many games in a row, he's got to be good enough to play. There was nobody who came behind him at shortstop or third base, and they were like, maybe it's time for us to move Cal. It never happened. No. Ever. It
he
never,
had to take
ever
himself
happened.
out.
Yeah. At 40 years old.
Yeah.
Still an all-star.
Yeah. He made it into the Hall of Fame with 537 votes out of a possible 545. I don't know who the handful of curmudgeons there, but they had some poopy pantsery going on during the voting process or
they
something.
Probably felt like he was a compiler for playing so many games in a row.
You think even after 10 years?
So this is funny. This is a funny thing to me, Brig. So guys, you hear people complain about players taking days off now, like, oh, guys only play 140 games now. They don't play 162 like they used to. But then you got, I'm sure, Brig, some of those 8 guys were like, oh, Cal Ripken never took a day off. Let a guy behind him get a chance.
Yeah. You're probably right.
You can't have it both ways, sir.
You can't. You're damned if you do. Yeah.
Exactly.
So listen, it gets better though. His career averages, these are terrific. His on-base percentage is 340, slugging 447, OPS 788. Right. But the best one is he has a 95.9 WAR over his career. He was a positive impact player every time.
Right.
And he never had
a down year.
Never
had a down year ever.
Nope.
In 20 full seasons, never had a down year.
And that's offensively and defensively, he never went in the negative, not one time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yep. So Cal Ripken, absolutely deserving of the number 1 spot in the Orioles Mount Rushmore. 100%.
100%. Okay. All right. There's our crossover times 1. Let's see what happens the next time. You go.
Okay. My next guy, he's a little bit farther down on their top 24 players on Baseball Reference, right? Because he's got a career WAR of 82.8. Okay. But he split time. Most of his career, and I would say his best years, were spent with the Orioles.
Okay.
He never won a Cy Young. I argue that he probably should have. Hall of Famer, though, 5-time All-Star, 7-time Gold Glove. And all of those All-Stars came in Baltimore. This guy is Mike Mussina.
Yep.
And I can see why somebody would be like, no, there were other guys in front of him who deserve it more. But for me, having grown up, like, as a fan of a West Coast team, a kid growing up on the West Coast, if I saw that Mike Mussina was pitching on a Wednesday night on ESPN, I was leaving my friend's house and coming to watch Mike Mussina pitch. I'm not kidding you, Brig. I was a huge Mike Mussina fan, and I was sorely disappointed when he went and played for the Yankees.
Sorry, buddy.
That's just the way it went. But no, he definitely had his best years in Baltimore, and they were absolutely outstanding. Led the league in 95 with 4 shutouts. Led the league with starts in 96 with 36. And he won. He didn't ever win 20 games, but at the same time, though, those Baltimore teams that he played on, some of them weren't they were fine, but they weren't great. Right? If he'd been playing on better teams at the time, I'm sure that he would have had several 20-win seasons.
For sure.
Especially back then. Because that's but he did have he had 2 19-win seasons, a couple 18-win seasons. He got really close a few times, but like I said, had he been on better teams, I think that he'd have gotten 20 wins.
Did he ever win a Cy Young with Baltimore?
No, never won a Cy Young. He had his first full year in the league. He finished 4th, and then he finished 4th again in 94, 5th in 95, 96, 6th in 97, runner up in 99. So he came close a lot. Even his last year as a Yankee, he was 6th. Then he finished 19 in the MVP voting.
Yeah.
But I think with the role that he played, as significant as he was, granted, he's playing beside Cal Ripken in the 90s, but he was the anchor on that 90s Baltimore pitching staff, which they were contenders. They made the playoffs and they made runs, right? Like those are some pretty good teams that like I said, had they been a little bit better and been able to get over the top, he'd have had 21 seasons. But I think he absolutely belongs in the Orioles Hall of Fame or Mount Rushmore.
Interesting. Well, we're not going to cross over there.
I didn't think we would. In fact, that's like I said, that's a highly biased pick because of how big of a Mussina fan I was who played on a team that I had no business cheering for as a 9-year-old.
Yeah. I have to disagree with you. I got to go with a pitcher myself, but I got to go a totally different direction on my next one.
Okay.
This guy won 3 Cy Young awards, and he finished top 5 in the Cy Young voting, like another four times or something like that. Let me look. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, I was right. 4 times. 5 times. Oh, 5 times in the top 5 the years he didn't win the 3 Cy Young awards. He was also number 2 in MVP voting one year where he did win the Cy Young award, and he finished in MVP voting a bunch of times between 1 and 19. So he was an all-star 6 times, 4-time Gold Glove as a pitcher, 2-time ERA title, and 3-time World Series champion. He's in the Hall of Fame. His name's Jim Palmer. Honestly, the fact that he's a 3-time Cy Young Award winner and a 3-time World Series champion, and he spent 19 seasons with the same ball club, you're talking about an entire generation, or 2 if you overlap them, of fans cheering on one guy every 4 or 5 days. And he was there every time, and he showed up. 1968, he did not play with injuries, or did not play any games because of injuries in 68. But otherwise, his entire career was spent in Baltimore. And you know, Brad, I'm a sucker for guys who spend their entire career with
You are a sucker for those kind of guys.
So that's my bias showing for sure. But I mean, these guys, his career WAR 68.5, 268 wins against 152 losses. Given the difficulty with wins-loss stats, I get it. But his career ERA is 2.86. Crazy.
Yeah. And obviously that's a great pick. I'm not going to take anything away from you because I'm not going to disagree with you on that. My personal preference was Mussina.
That's fair. That's fair. Reason. It's okay. It's all right.
Only reason.
That's all right, man.
My next
This is where it's going to start getting interesting, though. This is why I'm very excited.
If we don't overlap on this, Brig, I'm going to be shocked. Shocked about one. So this is a guy who played 21 years in the league. 13 of those years were played in Baltimore. When I think of this guy, I think of him as an Oriole, obviously because he spent 13 years there, but he was kind of a journeyman. Played for the Dodgers, played in Cleveland, played for the Mets, and had a cup of coffee, it looks like, with the Angels. So he's a Hall of Famer, won the Rookie of the Year, 8-time All-Star, 83 World Series champion, 3-time Gold Glove, 3 Silver Sluggers. You know who I'm talking about? You know who I'm talking about.
I do. Yeah.
Talking about Eddie Murray.
Yeah, you are.
Yeah. So, you see on social media a lot of times people will be like, they'll put up a logo of a team. They'll be like, who's one guy that comes to your mind when you see this logo? For me, with the Orioles, it's not Cal Ripken. Unfortunately, it's not Mike Mussina. It's Eddie Murray. Is the first guy who pops up. Yeah. And I don't know why. And I don't know if it's like, it's so weird because Brig, in my lifetime, he spent a total of of my awareness of watching baseball. He's played 64 games for the Orioles in 96. Yeah. I probably watched 40 of those games, it felt like, for whatever reason, when I was watching the Orioles and had no business doing it as a 10-year-old, right? But
yeah,
to me, Eddie Murray is the Baltimore Orioles. Got to have the Afro puffs on his.
You got to have it
on his Mount Rushmore statue.
Sure.
I don't know. There are a few guys who embody Baltimore Orioles more than him. And let's look at this for just a minute. 81, he led the league with 22 home runs and 78 RBIs out as a Baltimore Oriole. 84 led the league with 107 walks and a 410 on base percentage, which I know a lot of people are like, well, on base, what did he do otherwise? Dude's getting on base. He's making stuff happen.
Yes.
And teams were afraid to pitch to him because he led the league in intentional walks in 82 and 84 with 18 and 25, respectively.
Correct.
And he holds the record for most sac flies. I love a sac fly. I don't know why.
Yeah, I do too.
128 sac flies in his career. Dude could put the ball in play and make stuff happen. Won the Rookie of the Year, runner-up in the MVP in 82 and 83, top 5 finish in 81, 84, and 85. Oh, and again in 90 with the Dodgers, but that doesn't really count for this conversation.
Yeah.
But, yeah, no, Eddie Murray is one guy who is, like, burned into my mind as an Oriole. And maybe it has to do with baseball cards. I don't know.
Could be.
Could be. But, yeah.
Okay.
That's my number 3.
I am very excited to talk about this.
Okay, let's do it.
Because I have to disagree with you again.
That's just fine. That's why we do this.
You thought we were going to overlap on this one, but we don't.
Okay.
Eddie Murray, I wanted to put Eddie Murray on the ball.
I didn't think we'd overlap on this one, honestly.
Okay, good.
I thought maybe 2. We'd overlap on.
I think we're going to overlap one more time.
I think so.
Okay, so the reason I'm not going to put Eddie Murray on there is because he didn't play with his entire career with Baltimore. Now,
is that suddenly one of your requirements as of today?
No, okay. It's been a big deal for me forever, but this one I have an argument for. Okay. I compared Adley Rutschman to Eddie Murray.
Oh, really?
And I wanted to see, I'm just curious because I wanted to see, I think Adley Rutschman, first of all, is my number 3 guy. Maybe he should be in the number 4 slot because the other guy,
technically they're not ranked. It's just right.
Okay.
I guess you put 2 guys in the middle, but whatever.
Yes. But so listen, okay. So look, Eddie Murray played 13 seasons in Baltimore. Adley Rutschman's going to play his whole career in Baltimore. Just watch. Like he's
most likely. Yeah.
Okay. Murray had a 7.5 WAR in his first 2 seasons offensively, or total WAR, right? And had a negative 1.8 defensive WAR his first 2 seasons. Rutschman only has 2 seasons. Okay. Rutschman across the same 2 seasons has a 9.3 WAR. Okay. And a positive defensive WAR in his first 2 seasons. Okay. Rutschman also has a silver slugger already. His defensive WAR is 1.6 over the first 2 seasons. He should have, in some circles, won the Rookie of the Year. Okay. Both of them were all-stars. Yeah. Both of them were all-stars in their second seasons with Baltimore. Murray finished 8th in MVP voting his second year. Rutschman finished 9th his second season in the league. Okay. Rutschman is going to participate in a Baltimore Orioles World Series. It's going to happen. Okay.
You're calling the Orioles World Series right now.
I don't know if they're going to win or lose, but they are going to participate in a World Series.
They're going to make it. They're going to get a pennant.
They're going to make it. Eddie Murray did. Eddie Murray won, right, in 83. Now, in his second season in the league, Rutschman hit 20 home runs. Murray had 27 his second season in the league. I'm going to chalk that up to being the difference between I got to play behind the plate and that he's got to play first base. That's the difference for me there. Okay. Right? I think Adley Rutschman, even after his first 2 seasons in Baltimore, is better than Eddie Murray, is projected to be better than Eddie Murray.
I'm okay with that because Adley Rutschman is my 4th.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I have him on there because it's just like what I did with Corbin Carroll. Like you make a blank slate and save it for Adley Rutschman. After his career is all said and done, then you put him up there on that Mount Rushmore. Because we've talked about this. If we talked about it once, we've talked about it 100 times. The Baltimore Orioles were in the race at the end of the season in the 2022 season because Adley Rutschman was on that team. They did not start to get competitive until they called him up. It was no coincidence that his promotion and the turnaround of that team happened simultaneously.
Shifted everything. 100%.
It did. And the 2023 Orioles winning 100 games. No coincidence that Adley Rutschman is like the captain of that team in his second year, his first full year at the big leagues. He is going to be a star for decades as long as they have him around, which hopefully, like you said, is his entire career. He is going to be a star. He's going to be Mr. Baltimore Oriole. He's going to be the guy with that team. Gunnar Henderson will be right there with him, but Adley Rutschman is the face of that franchise and leading that team. Two, most likely, I think you're probably right. I think this team will get to a pennant eventually, especially with this new ownership group willing to spend money.
Yeah,
they'll get there, and he's going to be the face. He's going to be the face of the team when they do.
100%. Nothing against Eddie Murray. Nothing. If we had to stop the Mount Rushmore conversation at 2023, you'd have to go with Eddie Murray. I would have to. But because we don't have to, because we make up the rules and they don't matter,
right?
We can go with Adley Rutschman.
Exactly right. We can. And this is the thing. So you said you had a runner up. My runner up would have been Brooks Robinson,
and my runner up would have been Eddie Murray.
There you go. So who's your?
I have an honorable mention that's not my runner up.
So your runner up.
Because I still have one left. I've only given you 3 names.
Right. That's what I was saying. Who's your fourth guy?
It's Brooks Robinson.
Right, I thought so, yeah.
Yeah. Let's go through Brooks Robinson really quick. Hall of Fame. He won the MVP one time, 2-time World Series champion, World Series MVP, by the way, 16-time Gold Glove, 18-time All-Star, All-Star Game MVP, spent, what was it? His entire career in Baltimore, Brad, 23 seasons.
Your new requirement.
It's not new. It's just my favorite.
You've never highlighted it so much as you have today with guys.
Not as much as
you've had guys who have not spent their entire career. Make it on your Mount Rushmore.
That's true. But I think if there's an abundance, if I have lots of choices and I get to nitpick between guys who did or didn't, and
you're gonna pick the guys who.
That'll be the deal breaker for me.
Yeah.
That'll be the deal breaker. Anyway, Brooks Robinson, third baseman, just absolutely terrific. Career WAR 78.4 over those 23 seasons. Just stellar, man. Just shy of the 3,000 hit club at 28.48. So
how did 30 guys not vote for him? Did those 30 guys just assume? Did those 30 people just assume that he was going to get in, so they put their votes somewhere else, or are they just curmudgeons?
Curmudgeons. Let's call them.
Most likely. I think you're right. Okay. Are you ready for what ChatGPT said about the Orioles Mount Rushmore?
I am.
Okay, I'm just going to read the internet.
Okay, read the internet.
So my prompt was, please. I always say please when I use ChatGPT, just in case, because you never know.
You did.
It said, please list the Baltimore Orioles Mount Rushmore. And so it said, creating Mount Rushmore of the Baltimore Orioles involves selecting 4 individuals who have had the most significant impact on the team's history. Here's a list that represents a mix of players, managers, and other influential figures associated with the Orioles. Number 1, as you would expect, Cal Ripken Jr., known as the Iron Man. Ripken is one of the most iconic figures in Orioles history. He spent his entire 21-year career with the team, setting the MLB record for consecutive games played, 2,632. Ripken was a 19-time All-Star, 2-time American League MVP, and a key player during the Orioles' successful years in the 1980s and early 1990s. A little aside here, I just can't wait for one of the days that ChatGPT gives us bogus information, because that happens all the time. Anyway, number 2, Brooks Robinson. Widely regarded as one of the greatest third basemen of all time, Robinson spent his entire 23-year career with the Orioles. He won 16 Gold Glove awards and was the World Series MVP in 1970 when the Orioles clinched the championship. Robinson's defensive prowess and leadership made him a beloved figure in Baltimore. Okay, here we go. Number 3, Earl Weaver. As the Orioles manager from 1968 to 1982 and again in 1985 to 1986, Earl Weaver left an indelible mark on the franchise. He led the team to 4 American League pennants and a World Series championship in 1970. Weaver's fiery personality and strategic acumen made him one of the most successful managers in MLB history. And then number 4, are you ready?
Oh, boy.
Frank Robinson. Robinson made history as the first African-American manager in MLB when he took the helm of the Cleveland Indians in 1975. However, he also had a significant playing career with the Orioles. He won the Triple Crown in 1966, leading the team to a World Series victory and earning the AL MVP award. Robinson's impact as both a player and a trailblazer in baseball management earns him a spot on the Orioles' Mount Rushmore. And then at the bottom it says these individuals have made enduring contributions to the Baltimore Orioles, leaving an indelible mark on the franchise's history and earning their places on the team's Mount Rushmore. Eventually, somebody will be pushed out for Adley Rutschman as he becomes the new face of the franchise. That's not
Hold on, let's get into Frank Robinson really quick because this is a really great resume. Okay. Hall of Famer, won 370 out of 415 ballots, 2-time MVP, Rookie of the Year, Triple Crown winner. We need to go over what that means one day because that's a big deal.
Yes, we do.
14-time All-Star, 2 World Series wins, only 1 Gold Glove, which is very odd to me. World Series MVP, All-Star MVP, batting title, Major League Player of the Year, and Manager of the Year. His career WAR is 107.3. Just let that sink in for a minute. Cal Ripken's was like 95 or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
He led the league. It was 1966 is when he led the league in every damn thing. And that's awesome. What a guy.
Earl Weaver, real quick, as a manager, he only managed for the Orioles. Yeah. Total of 17 years. I've got a win-loss record of 1,480 wins, 1,480 wins, and 1,060 losses. That is a win-loss percentage of 583.
It's killer.
So that is better than 54%, Brig. That'll get you in the playoffs.
Earl Weaver was my honorable mention. Like if I was gonna give me, if you were going to give me
your runner-up.
My runner-up to my runner-up. Yeah, exactly. He would have been Earl Weaver for sure.
Nice.
Baseball family, let us know what you think. Did we totally botch the Mount Rushmore predictions or votes or whatever we're going to call them? Nominations. Brad always corrects me on that because I always forget the word, and he never does. So that's really great. What do you think, though? Put them in the comments below and send it to your friends so that they can comment. And if you think we're way off base, we want to know. If you agree with us, we want to know that too. Don't forget, you can also send us messages in the mailbag at baseballtogether.com. You can just slide into our DMs. We're on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook. Don't forget to like, subscribe, rate, and review the channel wherever you're able to because we're everywhere. And we like likes, and we really like subscribes, and we like ratings that are really good. But we'll take bad ones if we have to. It's fine. Anyway, and then the last thing I wanted to tell you is if you really dig what we're doing here, you can jump onto patreon.com. It's the best way. It's the easiest way to support the show. We have 5 tiers of support, $1, $5, $10, $15, and $500 tiers of support. Brad's got them all named. I think they're very cool. One of them is like the Hall of Fame tier, and that's my favorite one because there's some bag of goodies in there that we get to participate in, and it's super
that's the commissioner. I think that's the commissioner tier.
Oh, commissioner. Yeah, commissioner.
Yeah, commissioner tier is the big one. That's the big one. Yeah, and we have to give a shout out to Scott Klein, our newest rooter, to join us on Patreon. Thank you for your support. We greatly appreciate you jumping in there and becoming one of our rooters. The baseball family, like Brig said, don't forget to like, subscribe, rate, and review wherever you can, especially on the YouTube machine. We've seen so much support on YouTube, and we would love even more because it's amazing. It's super cool, and it's lots of fun. We'll catch you next week.